There was a time when CS was a much simpler game than it is today. The game was less tactically advanced. The impact of taking different decisions behind the economy and the importance of each utility, when, where, and why, were not that sufficient to be worthy of somebody's attention. That somebody was me, and maybe you. A new player who is totally not aware that CS is not just your typical shooter game, but a game considered as tactical shooter, meaning that the idea of executing different types of strategies had their importance. Allow me to ask you this for every player out there. How can a team win rounds, whether they play in the T side or the city side? Okay, now another question, but this time for the more experienced players. Allow me to ask you this question. Have you ever thought about the different possible outcomes depending on how you won that round? Players wanted to win so they could establish a legacy. To win, players created strategies. Players needed structure and coordination to execute those strategies. And for that, players needed communication. Players understood that map control increased their chances to win, and that some weapons were stronger than others. Understanding the different underlying fundamental mechanics of CS pushed this game to a point where the teams started to define what are now called today the many different roles of each player, and this will be the topic of today's video. Some of those roles are dedicated to a certain player. Some of them are more versatile. Each one of those roles has their own advantages and disadvantages. They each require a certain skill or an asset related to the player's profile and/or to the game. More importantly, they each have their own job to do, their own duty. Those who watch my live streams may have heard this already, but I keep repeating it, not only for the experience to remember, but also for the new to learn. I strongly believe that two of the strongest tools to help us improve and ascend to newer fields of play are achieved through keen observation and the ability to understand the different why. In my journey playing solo queue, I had to define first what was my role in that team, and then adjust if required, and that for each game. I will try my best to explain the different roles of each player in CS2, their strengths and weaknesses, the goal they have, and so on. As I said earlier, some of them are dedicated roles and specific to certain players. Some of them are more flexible or adaptive, depending on the situation in that given round. I decided that I will define the different roles by using the you term. You are not playing tactical CS unlike others, but rather, CS is a shooter game for you. You put all your time and effort into increasing your aim stats. You are not afraid to go in first. CS is all about aim to you. Who cares about utilities? Why would you waste your time learning smokes and where your teammates' round time is set to 1 minute and 55 seconds, yours is set between 25 and 55 seconds. Strangely, you find peacefulness in chaos, amidst the different incendiaries and the flashes and the H-nades. This is where you feel the most alive. In an alternate universe, you would probably be an ogre or a knight with a shield bashing the front. I guess it depends on your motivation behind your goals. You either get oddly satisfied by the ability to out-aim your opponent and stomp them, or you are one of self-assured soldier who is ready, willing, and able to sacrifice himself for his team, but not without taking at least one opponent with you. You like to create opportunities for your team. Your KD and stats are probably on the critical side, but you make every frag count. Your entry frags are the most valuable ones of the round, and thanks to your ability, you give your team the best asset to win the round, which is the map control and the numbers advantage. You have only one goal. You need to get the first frag at all costs. Once you have done that, congratulations. You accomplished your duty as an entry fragger. You have an insane ability to pre-aim angles with pinpoint precision. You optimize your entry path in order to minimize the risks while maintaining the maximum advantage. And you spent so much time in mastering all the details when it comes to your micromanagement. It allows you to win most of your duels. This is why you have been given, or you chose to, play as the entry fragger. If you get 2 entry frags and still lose the round, it doesn't matter. You did your part and managed to fulfill your responsibilities as an entry fragger. If you win the round and got 0 entries, it still doesn't matter because you won the round. In case you fail to entry, do not worry. You've got another trustworthy teammate who will make sure that your mistake will not be wasted. There are only two possibilities for you to be put in that situation. First one being unwillingly, meaning that you didn't control it and you just go with the flow of the game. If that's the case, then you're a cool guy, someone who's chill. You follow your teammate and try to make sure to get the trade in case he fails to get the entry. His initiative will not be wasted, and you make sure to fulfill your duty and responsibilities as the trader in that situation. Second possibility is, this is not going to please some people, but whatever. Going in first is not meant for you. You're too good for that. You let someone else do it for you, as you believe that being an entry is just going to hurt your KD. The players you play with are not your teammates. They are your minions. Whenever there's a rush B strat and you're the first in line, suddenly you become creative about the smoke lineups and the flashes. Whenever someone talks bad stuff about you, your only reply is, press tab. You will not go in first because if you're not alive, you consider the round to be over. Nonetheless, it's important to have players like you because you keep the round alive. Where the first stage of the round is the playground of the entries, you shine in the mid-rounds thanks to your understanding of the game and the different rotations of the enemies. You specialize in denying any advantage the opponents might have, and you always find a way to sneak through their defense. You might not be as brave and courageous as the entry fragger. Some people might call you a rat or a snake, but your role is as important as anyone else because without you, the entry fragger sacrifice would be all vain. Your duty is to follow anyone who is trying to get an entry and make sure to help him in case he misses his shot. In your case, you have all the tools to revenge your teammate and you have to hit your shot. If not, the round might be lost. So make sure to communicate with your third player as he will give you all the things you need in order to achieve success. In that case, it's the support. Everybody hates this role because everybody wants to have all eyes on them. They want to be the star, the main player of the team, the player that sits on top of the scoreboard. Do not sleep on the supports. If you play this role, it's not because you're necessarily bad. It's because you're the player who we can trust the most. Yes, your aim might not be as good as some other players. Yes, you'd wish that sometimes your teammates would play around you for once. Yes, you're always the one sacrificing yourself for the team and you put the most effort, but let me tell you this. Without you, there's no team. Let me explain. Do you get map control easily with nades or without? Who throws those nades? Who spends time in private servers to learn the impactful flashes that give you the easy entry? The support role is not a dedicated role per se, but some players that play in a team environment are. They will prioritize the nades over the weapon. In solo queue, it's usually who's feeling like to help the teammates that do this. They do not win by their KD, but by their utility. They are the one who are taking the bomb that you, yes you, dropped in T-spawn. In city side, there will be the players that will play with MP9 and make sure to buy the few skits and flashes, just in case. So players like you can buy M4 and instantly pick without getting insta-headshot by the enemy's deagle, all thanks to that one support player's flash nade. Support players, your utility management is on the top level. You know how to maximize the effectiveness of each of your nades. Your HE will always deal damage. Your flashes will always blind. You use your smoke at the best time possible and in the right area. You can be the second most vocal player in your team, right next to the in-game leader. Your information gathering skills allow you to relay those info to your teammates and they will have more awareness about the potential threat they are facing. Remember the time where you managed to get a double frag thanks to that one single flash? The support players have a strong sense of sacrifice. They will put the team first and have excellent communication skills. While they shine through their utilities, some other players show presence through the usage of one specific weapon. AWPers are usually dedicated players and there are many ways to identify them. Let's begin. You're an AWP player. You probably watch demos of the top AWPers. The moment someone drops you an AWP, you feel like you're alive again. You know every price of each AWP skin. If you start the round with $4,750, you already know what you're going to do. Glass Cannon AWP is a title you seek to achieve. Whenever you hit that insane flick, you make sure to remind your friends that you taught Kenya's how to AWP, or that you're the next Manisi. Bogdan's law doesn't apply to you. If your teammates' HP are in the red and yours at 100, you will just ignore that call. If you enjoy inflicting pain, you will just drop your pistol, use your spray, and then move on. Nobody else can use your AWP. Arthur pulled the Excalibur, you pull the AWP. You have a talent at deceiving the enemies. One round you're AWPing outside, next round you're AWPing inside. Sometimes you're that long-range deadly sniper. Sometimes you're so reckless you pretend that your AWP is a shotgun. You're so unpredictable that this side of you in-game has shifted in your everyday life. You don't miss. You never miss. You hate to miss your shot. You probably have one of the lowest reaction time possible. You probably use one of those following knives: a karambit, a stiletto, a flip, or a butterfly knife. You probably took a screenshot of your AWP skin just to display it on your Steam profile. It is also likely that your AWP skin has a name tag on it. In your past, you probably used that Zeus to take down your teammate who was using an AWP, who you believe didn't deserve to, because he didn't have the skills to use that. Or simply you asked him to drop that AWP to you and he refused. So you just took your revenge. Your teammates drop you the AWP for a reason. It's a weapon that can make the difference, so you have to make the difference with it. Thanks to your low reaction time, your ability to reposition yourself, being unpredictable, and your high accuracy, you're able to give your teammates a most likely one round. The potential on that weapon is too high for you to simply sit and wait. You carry your team's will and hopes with you. There are only 5 bullets in that weapon. Every shot you take is crucial and will define the outcome of the round. The first one is the most important, so make it count. The Lurker. A really underrated role where everybody will hate you and call you a baiter, but in fact you're just trying to play chess in CS instead. If you're a Lurker, you play with your senses. You put all your stats in positioning, stealth, timings, and psychological manipulation. In general, you're a patient person. CS is a 5 vs 5 game, but you enjoy winning your 1 vs 1s. You want to show dominance and take over the opponent's territory. You have been lurking for so many years that you know everything about it. From knowing when to be passive lurker to when to be an aggressive one. You understand the different possible outcomes. In some situations, you don't take anything, but you make sure that you deny them everything. In other situations, you're the player that turns a round that's supposedly lost on paper to a playable round and potentially winnable. You know when to strike and where to strike. The in-game leader and you hold a close relationship when it comes to communication. Thanks to your positioning, you're able to hear the rotation and share that crucial info to your team, and you assist your in-game leader in giving those important calls that will allow you to win the round. You know which path leads where, and you are comfortable when it comes to understanding the different macro dynamics of each map. Your duty will change depending on the situation. To summarize, if your team is winning the round, you deny. If your team is losing the round, you create an opportunity to keep the round alive for your team. If you're playing default, you punish them in case they try to take info. If you get fragged, not only the enemy team gets a free entry, but also they get the info. On paper, the enemy team has all the tools to win the round and have 0 reasons to lose that. So if you play this role, you have to understand the weight that you carry on your shoulders. Knowing when to push, when to hold, and being familiar with the command spots are key components when it comes to play as a good lurker. The lurker is usually a dedicated role when it comes to the CS that is team-based. In solo queue though, it usually depends on how each round is played over time. It's a role that's learned through trial and error. It's a role that requires communication. When you have a flank and can surprise your opponents, you have to call it. When you have an empty site, you have to call it. When the enemy is rotating, you have to call it. Your role is not limited in getting those easy frags. Lurkers usually have 4 sub-goals: cut the rotation, deny the saves, secure the win, and create opportunities when required. There are different types of leader, and it also comes down to the type of CS you're playing. In solo queue, for example, nobody is a designated leader. Each player is free to give the call for each round. It is also important to note that it is better to play the round as an united team. In a team-based CS, you're the leader. You're not only responsible of taking the right decisions, but also you're responsible of creating an environment where your teammates can play at their very best level. That means talking to them, listening to them, and understanding the different play styles of your teammates. Too much can be poisonous. Too little is not enough to have an impact. It is also important that your teammate and yourself stick to your system. You don't want to give overconfidence to your players. Neither you want to shatter it. Words have power and you know how to use them. You know how to have an impact with your voice. The leader is not a status that's given, it's earned. Through the years of experience, your passion, your competitive spirit, and your will to win, you want to show who is the better in-game leader of both teams. Do you want to lead by authority or by their trust? When you read the enemy team's strat, that's where you feel enjoyment. When you find the enemy team's weak link, you start to abuse it. You can make the right call and still lose the rounds. The other way is also true. You can make the bad call, but your teammate shoots so well that it ends in your favor. You usually have weaker stats, but as long as your 4 other team members are having fun and enjoying the game, that's the moment where you feel you accomplished your duties. There are different types and profiles of in-game leaders. Entry IGL, Lurker IGL, Support IGL, AWP IGL. Each have their own style, their own system, and their own belief regarding the way how CS should be played. If a city side is 12 rounds, you probably have an impact on 4 of them on average. You are probably the most pacifist player of them all. Your stats took a hit, and even more if you're also the anti-fragger in T-side. Just look at this graph. Nobody plays these spots. Nobody wants to play it. They hate it. When you spend time and effort into improving your skills in a certain area, eventually you will start to develop some form of attachment. Playing anchor feels boring because nobody plays with you, and they all expect you to deliver when the enemies rush B for the first time after 10 rounds. Your teammates need to know that it's even more boring to play retake A simulator. You are given the anchor role not because you were the leftover, but because you have an insane ability to play retake situations. At the beginning of the round, you are the anchor. Later, you transform into the retaker. Sometimes you're the flanker. It is easy to spot the experienced anchor player who is devoted to his role from the inexperienced one. The lurkers and the anchors usually have the same mindset. Sometimes their path crosses each other. What makes a good anchor is his ability to predict and anticipate what's going to happen on his territory. They have studied a specific formula and still apply it to this day. Frag 1, stay alive until rotation arrives. Their utility management is amazing and they know every possible angle on their site. A good hold of your site usually sets the game. You deny them any chance to come back and you shatter their hopes. One round is enough to set the game. This is the round you have to deliver. You're not the anchor, you're the wall. The enemy team needs to ask your permission if they can enter the site. You're not the anchor, you're the bouncer. Sometimes you're the second AWPer. Don't sleep on the anchors. When they explain to you the importance of staying alive, you better listen to them. Though the anchor's defense is stronger thanks to the reinforcement they get, this is why the rotation player enters. You probably spent most of your time running around the map while admiring the architecture. You're gathering information and helping your teammates to hold their ground. You're a good rotation player because you play with your brain. You're always one step ahead of your enemies. Sometimes you make some proactive plays with your teammate and it surprises your anchor friends. He never could have imagined that one day someone else will actually consider his existence. It's a role that requires a lot of experience. While there's activity from the T's, you're there. Sometimes the defense of the sites depends solely on you because you're the one who is able to complete that crossfire that will settle down the round. The CS you play is not the same as the majority. You specialize in information gathering, managing your utility, solidifying your teammates' defense, and helping them by covering the angles they cannot watch. He's the big guy, the champ, the cleanup. He's the boss. He's the closer. The team makes sure that this guy stays alive until the very end because he doesn't miss. If you have to put all your trust onto somebody, you'd put it onto the closer. If you're designated as the closer of the team, chances are you're the best one when it comes to winning your clutch rounds. You like to spend your lunch breaks in those retake servers. You know the advantage and the disadvantages of every position during the clutch rounds. Your steps are calculated. You don't necessarily need to play well. You just know how to put your opponent in a situation where he can outplay himself. You don't know pressure. You're a seasoned veteran player, patient and wise when needed, aggressive and fierce when required. You're aware of the outcome of every little decision you take. You're also conscious that time is sometimes your ally, sometimes your enemy, and you know how to make good use of that. If you're forced to concede, you never do it too early, neither too late. And even though if you have to concede, you try to do as much damage as possible because there's always the next round. You understand most of the mechanics of this game as well as the importance of the economy. Sometimes you just cannot control yourself. Your heart is pounding very fast, yet you don't show any emotions on your face. You remain calm. For half a second, you picture yourself celebrating that one round and witness the happiness on your face. This is the moment. You're locked in. You're not concerned with the what-ifs. You already know every possibility for every given situation. You have a strong skill in decision-making and managing your stress. This is why you have become so reliable when it comes to winning the clutches. I have to admit, I don't have enough knowledge about this role. It is still a question the analyst in esports tournament asked to the players. What does your coach bring to your team? To answer this question, it would be interesting to have something like a podcast where every coach shares their experience, but this is going to be difficult. So for this, I want to share what I believe the role of a coach is. Although this is only my opinion, and for this part I will speak in I form. I believe that a coach is really important in a player's skill improvement. I think a coach should be able to see things the common player doesn't. He should be able to identify the issue, explain why it is not adequate with an understandable language, and give the different possible solutions to that issue. If a player wants to achieve a certain skill, the coach should bring different tools to help the player to achieve his goal. If a tool is not working, he should find another tool or create his. I believe that a coach should promote positive reinforcement, which means, in summary, point out the good things that the player did, but also point out if the player did a mistake. The coach is the link between the team's captain and the team's staff members. He can be more or less tactical. When the team feels down, he can uplift the team's spirit just as much as the captain. This is what I believe though. There are so many things that I, or we, can talk about the role of a coach, but this might go on for hours. Now that we talked about the current roles that exist, we might actually see different types of sub-roles. As the game keeps evolving, I wouldn't be surprised if we have more and more teams adopting a system of co-leading. IGL with the Lurker, IGL who is lurking and communicating with the entry fraggers, or when the IGL is not active, someone else has to take the front. Someone who's able to analyze the current situation and can make use of his creativity to come up with a new plan. Maybe that will help the IGLs to get more frags, who knows. As said before, some roles are dedicated, some are not. The players who can do all of those roles on an above average level are rare. I believe it's really important to understand the duties of each role in this game. I believe it's also important to understand that you cannot win a game by having 5 aggressive entry players if you do not have anyone to flash for you or smoke different areas to make your life easier. Utility management might be one of the most underlooked skills in this game, yet it's one of the most powerful skills to have. It's good to know the different nade lineups, but where is that person who is going to tell us to use that one smoke in that one particular specific moment? The players who believe that playing anchor or support roles do not have enough impact, are you truly convinced by that? Sometimes a round is won thanks to one single information or one single flash. Allow me to share a piece of my story as a player. So, in my faceit solo queue games, I would sometimes get matched with pre-mates, and guess what? I would always play the least desired roles. Now to this, I can react in 2 different ways. First one is where I'm mad and I refuse to acknowledge that a player like me is playing B-Apps on Mirage. I'm way too good for that, right? This kind of reaction would cause some problems inside our team before the game even starts. I don't really want that, to be honest. We played this game for 35 minutes on average? What's the point of arguing? Second way to react would be, okay, only B-apps left, I will play it. Okay, it's not a spot that's appreciated or considered impactful according to statistics, but is it really the case in solo queue? Isn't there any way for me to have more impact than this? Jump spotting B will never allow me to make the difference in that game. I need to find new things. How can I maximize my game, but also the game of my teammates? I need to learn. I really do. I need to learn more and more if I want to have an impact in this game. How can I maximize the efficacy of my spot, not only with my shooting, but also with my utility? 90% of the time, I would spend my whole round in jump picking B-apps. Really fun, right? But someone has to do it. Yes, it's boring for my viewers to the point where they would probably fall asleep, but my teammates who are pre-mates are playing short, window and connector. At least they could optimize their teamwork. If it works, it's good. If it doesn't, it's fine. Adapt, try new things, change things, and see if it produces positive results. What I would do sometimes is that I would drop my info to my teammates who play the most impactful position, and I would ask them to drop me a MP9. The enemy team doesn't rush B that much anyway, and even if they do, the MP9 will do the trick. I can adapt. My teammates though, I don't want them to face the long-range fights with their MP9s against the AKs. The MP9 is a very situational weapon, although there are cases where it's still powerful no matter the range, but still. They will have a better chance to win their duels with an M4 instead of the MP9 they initially bought. I was doing fine in spots I was comfortable, but I don't want to be a one-trick player. Anchor players, they don't have much activity on their side, but there's activity in other parts of the map. What are the other parts of this game that exist that the anchor player can take advantage of? Utility management, utility damage, flash assists, timing, positioning on site, exploiting the different possible angles such as the different off angles, calling for rotation at the right moment, flanks and retakes. I had to get better at those things. I need to learn how to get better timings. I need to understand those things. Compare the anchor's profile, for example, to the entry fragger's profile. What are the most important parts that he needs to master? Crosshair placement, when and where, the entry path, first bullet accuracy, recoil control, micromanagement. So as you can see, CS is not just your average shooter game. Plenty of details are taken into consideration. There are other roles that I could talk about, but I just chose not to. For example, I'm not convinced that there should be a star player. I consider Counter-Strike a team-based game. Some players can have their A game and some others their C game. An entry fragger can shift his role into a lurker because he got his entry and is low HP, for example. The best player of the team might have to play support for that one specific round because of the spawns. The hero AK doesn't have to be dropped to the best player. Sometimes the player that has his A game and has a good feeling during the game can also take that role. Here we are. You made it to the end of this video. For this one, let's use the comment emote in the comment section so I know who managed to make it this far. Thank you very much for taking time to watch this video. If you want to support the work of my channel, you can click on the subscribe button. Liking and commenting on this video will also help as it will get promoted to bigger audience thanks to the algorithm. If you want to say hello in real time, I'm live streaming here on YouTube but also on Twitch. Shout out to our community, to the people that have been supporting this channel since the very beginning. Shout out to the people who become part of this community later and still, to this day, keep supporting this channel. Thank you very much. None of this would have been possible without your help. If you have any questions or you want to suggest something about the next upcoming video, you can write a comment down below. In the meantime, see you on the next.